The middleman is the UN, the United Nations. The middleman is the international NGOs, because their overhead is a lot of money. When each salary of each of those people is the same as about 15 local employees or staff for one of these, with 15 to 20 staff, that's a problem. So this money, for example, I'll give you an example to make it more tangible. So TAS, Takaful Al Sham, which is the organization I work for, it's a national NGO. So it's registered in Syria, set up by Syrians, and every member of that organization is Syrian. I am an honorary. I am the only non-Syrian in that organization. However, I am working with their mandate. So with that, we were lucky to be one of the 2 national NGOs that received direct funding from the US government. We are currently now finalizing also a partnership directly with the French government. So we cut out the middleman. So we had received, one of the years, $10 million for a project to implement in Syria. We were able to receive that money, obviously in tranches, in installments, and we were able to implement our project without a middleman. Why? Because the national NGO, TAS, has the local people working on the field, in the ground, by the people, for the people. So there is no profit that goes into our pockets because we are a national NGO. We do not have a profit. As you know, that funders give a percentage, because sometimes people are like, come on, well, how will you guys survive? The donors and funders provide a small percentage from the total amount that can go to support the organization outside of the project expenses. So it does happen, and it can happen. But the key that I always tell, especially many, because I do many conferences, especially in Africa and the smaller Middle Eastern countries, Yemen, you know, Iraq, well, they're not small, but you know. So what do I always tell them? Number 1, build your capacity. Number 2, ensure that the quality of your work is at international standards. It is easy to do. It is very easy to do, because any donor in the world wants to ensure that there is no aid diversion. This is the key. So long as they feel that there is no money going to terrorist entities, they are happy. You have to prove it, you have to show it on papers, you have to show it with receipts, you are good to go. You will be audited, and it's very possible. Last year, I was at the World Bank, spoke about this exact issue. As you all know, the World Bank likes to work with governments. I told them why. Governments take half the money into their pockets. We know 90% of governments are corrupt. Half the money will go into their pockets, the other half will go towards UN or INGOs. You can start now mandating, changing your mandate, and partnering with national NGOs who can prove that they have the capacity and the quality to move ahead with receiving funding directly. Hope that's answered your question.
That's an amazing answer. Thank you for that response. Before I get the next question for you, I have one myself. In the work you do, you've alluded to the fact that we need to raise standards in terms of transparency and in terms of reporting.
Yes.
My question to you would be, what is the biggest challenge that you have found running a local not-for-profit that is particularly focused on supporting a war zone? What would be the biggest? What are some of the biggest challenges that you have to face, and how have you been able to overcome those challenges?
Actually, it goes back to the first question. So the largest challenge is convincing donors to work directly with us and not with, quote unquote, the experienced INGOs, international entities. This was the largest challenge, yeah? Others will tell you, oh, changing the behavioral mentality of the locals to, to be able to be in compliance with the mentality of the foreign entity. I say no to the latter, because why should we change ourselves for them? We are in our country. We are the people of the country. If they want to work with us, they need to change their mentality and go with how we are working, because your international policy will not apply in my country. I have policies in place that work in Syria, and here they are. This was the hardest and biggest challenge, is to convince a donor to directly fund a national NGO. So having to prove capacity, having to prove quality, having to prove risk management.
Thank you so much. Hold on 1 minute for another question. Dr.
Hi, Marwa. Thank you so much for your presentation. My name is DK, and I really appreciate, I think it came out clear, there must be local participation in international support projects. My question is related to the other two, but from a different standpoint. And I'm curious, being a person embedded in this world of international projects, why do governments and international world bodies still, in this time and age, focus on channeling their funds through governments and these other international NGOs and not the locals? Is it naivety? Is it a revival of colonialism? Is there a sinister undercurrent in their actions? I'm curious to know what you think.
Okay, so in this I love this question, because these are one of the questions that we need to sit over coffee and discuss. So this, in my opinion, and I do raise it in many meetings, I think it's a revival of colonization, unfortunately. I believe that we have proven ourselves, the locals have proven themselves when they have a chance to prove themselves, they've proven themselves. This immediately causes fear amongst those in power. I don't want to sound that I'm being a conspiracy theorist. However, I have seen how when locals speak up, when locals are engaged in international conferences, when locals are there to sit or take my seat, because I'm considered a foreigner, a Westerner, but when a local sits and they are forced to listen to them, they realize, oh, the image that we have had of them, oh, the image that we portray of them, oh, they have to go back and reflect on themselves and realize we need a different route, because we cannot allow them to grow and flourish. Because growing and flourishing means that each country will take over its own country and lead on its own country. Where will they make money? Where will they profit? How will the big pharmaceuticals be able to profit? As we know, Africa is the wealthiest continent in the world, but at the same time, it's the poorest continent in the world. But who is imposing this on them? You know, it's these foreign countries. They don't want Africa to be powerful. They don't want the Middle East to be powerful, right? Where's all the petrol? Where's all the money? Where's all the minerals? So unfortunately, I do have to say the reality, in my opinion, is very much that bringing back colonization and ensuring that those that could potentially have power and control are held at bay, let's say. I don't want to get too political.
Thank you. I mean, you can't be too political when values have been allocated. Yeah, nothing is neutral, right? Nothing is neutral. And so thank you for that. One thing I would like to say is when you guys have that coffee conversation you're going to have with Dr. DK, please invite me. I want to be in that conversation. I love coffee. I love conversation. And just give me a heads up and I'll come. Everybody, please give it up for Dr. Mas. Thank you, ma'am.
Until we meet in person.
Thank
for
you.
the coffee.
Absolutely. You owe me one. Yeah. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've just heard about localization and the fact that locals know what is best for themselves. Locals know where things happen. It's amazing because when a disaster happens, it's always the locals that start the humanitarian efforts. But what you get to hear is all of a sudden you are hearing doctors with their borders are around. And those guys do a lot of good work, right? Amazing work. But you rarely hear the efforts of the local people. So I think that my sister is onto something, and it's something that well beyond this room, but it's something that we will have to consider in the conversations around the work we do. Today, when we were being asked about the advice we could give to a newcomer in terms of how to manage their mental health, one of the things that came up was about financial literacy, how to manage the money that they have when they come into Canada, or when they come into the spaces where they are coming. And so it gives me a great pleasure to invite for our next conversation an expert in financial education. Romy De La Cruz is a financial educator who leads a team dedicated to helping families build a strong financial future. Through his work in the financial industry, he focuses on expanding access to practical financial education that helps families make more money, save more, protect their assets, and plan confidently for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Romy as he comes to take on the next topic, which is building savings and wealth. Give it up for.
All right, I'm excited to be here with you today this afternoon. It's an honor to be with you. So I know that we had a great time.